there, Riderflex Nation. Steve Urban here with more career advice and job interviewing tips for you. And as a quick reminder, if you enjoy our podcast, please remember to subscribe to our channel and like the episodes. And on today's podcast, sometimes your worst interviews turn out to be your best employees. Yes, it happens. You get that candidate in front of you. Everything matches on paper, great LinkedIn profile, great resume. They meet all the requirements, references check out, very stable job history. They've been fully vetted by the recruiter that you hired and presented, so everything checks. But you meet them, and for some reason, it just doesn't feel right. They're nervous. The interview doesn't go well. They miss a few key questions that you expected them to answer better. They met a couple of your team members, and the team members weren't totally blown away. So you pass on the candidate. Here's what I'd recommend, and here's the reason for the podcast. If you get a candidate in front of you and everything checks out, okay, the backgrounds, the references, the job history, everything checks, and that first interview doesn't go well, do yourself a favor. Schedule a second meeting with that candidate and maybe even do it outside the office. Meet them for coffee, meet them for lunch. Give that candidate that checked out on paper a second chance in person. Maybe they just had a bad day. Maybe they just don't interview well, right? Maybe they get super nervous. So give them a second chance, especially if the candidate you're hiring is not being hired for a super high pressure customer facing position. Right? If it's a high pressure position where they're having to close deals or present to a bunch of people and they didn't nail it when they came in to meet your team, okay, maybe that's one thing. But for other positions that aren't super high pressure or customer facing, if the candidate didn't do well during that first interview, I highly recommend that you bring them back in and do a second one. And like I said, maybe even do it outside the office. Take them to lunch, see how it goes. And there is your Riderflex tip of the day. We truly hope you find our material helpful and entertaining. And while our podcast can be heard across most platforms, including iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, YouTube, and SoundCloud, you can become a supporter of this podcast by visiting our show on the platform Anchor FM. That's anchor.fm/Riderflex. You can also send us your questions or suggested topics for future episodes to the email address podcast@riderflex.com or drop us a voicemail at 888-964-5876, extension 710. Visit riderflex.com to learn more about us. Thanks so much for listening, folks, and have a great day.